They say love is in the details. The way he remembers I take my coffee, 1 sugar, a splash of oat milk. The way he warms my side of the bed before I get in. For 7 years, James has been the architect of my comfort, building our life with the precision of a master craftsman. Our home wasn't just a place, it was a sanctuary he designed, room by room, cushion by cushion. I was the centerpiece, his perfect Sarah. I believed in that perfection. I wore it like a tailored coat, until I started to feel the seams. The first seam was a tiny one. A lipstick, not my shade, rolled under the passenger seat of his car. Must be from that colleague I drove to the seminar, he said, not looking up from his laptop. His tone was so flat, so factual, it erased the question before it fully formed in my mind. Then came the weekend conference in Brighton. The same weekend we'd booked months ago to see that exhibition I was dying to see. Can't be helped, low. Career peak, he said, his kiss tasting of mint and apology. But his eyes, they didn't crinkle at the corners like they usually did when he was sorry. They were smooth, impenetrable. And the drawer. The damn drawer in his old oak bureau. It was the only thing in our pristine, open-plan life that was locked. A physical secret. Just old ghosts, Sarah had murmured, catching me looking at it once. Letters from my father, medals from a time I'd rather forget. It's not a part of us. He called our life us. And I wanted to believe that us was a fortress and that drawer was just a forgotten, dusty corner of the moat. A part of his past that didn't concern me. My mistake was thinking the threat was outside our walls. I never considered it could be the foundation itself. The day the key found me, I wasn't looking for clues. I was performing an exorcism. On our home, on my own paranoia. I cleaned with a fury, trying to scrub away the silent questions. And then a soft clink. The vacuum cleaner had dislodged a small, felt-covered box from the darkness beneath the bureau. It was as if the house itself had coughed it up. My blood didn't run cold. It turned to sludge, heavy and slow. I didn't open it immediately. I made tea. I drank it, staring at the box on the table. The key inside was small, brass, and remarkable. It felt ancient in my palm. Not like a key to a drawer, but a key to a tomb. The turn of the lock was a gunshot in the silent house. The drawer opened with a sigh of old wood. And there it was. Not a lover's shrine. An archive. My archive. Neatly arranged like specimens. On the left, a row of small, clear bags. In one, a single, long strand of my auburn hair. In another, the dried petal of a rose he gave me on our last anniversary. I'd depressed it in a book and forgotten. A ticket stub from a movie I saw alone when he was working late. A pebble from the beach trip with my friend me. I'd picked it up because it was heart-shaped. He must have fished it out of my jacket pocket. These weren't mementos of us. They were artifacts of me. Separate, observed, collected. My breath hitched. This was more intimate, more violating than any love letter could ever be. A love letter is a message. This was a theft. He was stealing my solitude, my insignificant moments, claiming them as his own. And then the photograph. Black and white, high contrast. Me, deep in sleep, the duvet a chaotic sea around me. My face was peaceful, vulnerable in a way I never allowed myself to be awake. The angle was unmistakable from his pillow. He hadn't just taken it, had developed it, printed it on quality paper. This was curation. This was study. The notebook was leather-bound, worn at the edges. My name was embossed on the cover in simple, elegant letters. Not our diary, S.A.R.A.H. Inside, it was worse than I could have dreamed. It wasn't filled with poetic longing or bitter accusations. It was a log. Clinical, detached, horrifying in its detail. April 12th, 1403 to 1541. Sarah at the Lark Cafe with Mia. Consumed. Latte, slice of carrot cake. Conversation topics. Work frustrations, Mia's boss. Plans for summer holiday, Mia suggesting Portugal. Sarah laughed 7 times. Moderate volume. May 5th, 1915 to 20 to 30. Sarah alone at home. Watched episodes 3 and 4 of The Crown. Made pasta. Called mother at 21:17. Conversation duration. 14 minutes. Topic. Aunt's health. Sarah cried at the end of the call. Reason unconfirmed. June 18 yesterday, 1517 to 1545. Sarah at Wordsworth and Sons bookstore. Bought The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Interaction with male cashier approx. 30 to 35, brown hair, glasses. Duration of interaction, 87 seconds. Sarah smiled twice. Cashier smiled once. I flipped through page after page. A year, more than a year of my life reduced to data points. My emotions were variables. My interactions were transactions. He noted my menstrual cycle, my average weekly spending, the routes I took on my evening runs. This wasn't love. This wasn't even obsession in the romantic, tragic sense. This was a project. I was his human project. The perfect Sarah wasn't his wife. She was a prototype he was monitoring, cataloging hand. The notebook suggested trying to optimize. There were notes in the margins. Suggest new running route through the park for increased serotonin. Introduce Portuguese travel guides casually to gauge interest. The horror was absolute, but it was a quiet horror. It didn't make me scream. It made me hollow. Every tender moment, every loving gesture warming the bed, remembering my coffee was recast. Were they acts of love or were they calibration? Was he kissing me goodnight or was he checking my temperature? The man I had built my life with was a stranger wearing my husband's skin, and he had been conducting a long-term, intimate experiment. And I was the lab rat who had mistaken the maze for a home. That's when I heard it. The purr of his car engine, the crunch of gravel, the key in the front door. My body went on high alert, but my mind became eerily calm. It was the calm of a soldier who finally sees the battlefield. Honey, I'm home. Brought your favorite pastries. His voice floated up the stairs, dripping with normalcy. A performance for an audience he believed was still blind. I didn't scramble to put it all back. One didn't close the drawer. Instead, I did something else. I picked up my phone. I opened a fresh note, and I began to type, my fingers steady for the first time in months. Log entry, day 1, 18 to 47. Subject, James. Location, home. State, returning from unspecified location, vehicle engine warm. 28-minute drive from city center based on average traffic. Vocal tone, elevated cheer, potential indicator of guilt or successful data acquisition. Offered, pastries, a known positive reinforcement stimulus. Objective, observe reaction to compromised primary data, cache the drawer. His footsteps on the stairs were measured, familiar, each one a hammer on the lid of my old light. I placed the phone face down next to the photograph of my sleeping cell. I didn't stand up. I sat, surrounded by the evidence of my own curated life, and waited. The door handle turned. The door swung open. There he stood, a paper bag in one hand, a smile on his face. The smile faltered, then froze as his eyes traveled from my face to the open drawer, to the artifacts of his obsession spread on the floor between us. His expression didn't morph into panic or anger. It sharpened, became focused, curious. We looked at each other across the wreckage of our marriage. No, not a marriage. A study. The silence was thick enough to choke on. He was the first to speak. His voice was soft, analytical, devoid of its usual performative warmth. You opened it. It wasn't an accusation. It was a statement of fact. A new variable entered into the equation. I said nothing. I just held his gaze, my own face a mirror of his new, detached calm. The game had changed. He was no longer the unseen observer. I was no longer the unwitting subject. We were two scientists now, standing over a shared, terrible discovery, and I had just started my own research. So, what would you do? Would you run from the monster you've shared a bed with? Would you scream, shatter the terrifying peace? Or would you realize that the only way to survive in a cage is to understand the locks, to study the keeper as intently as he has studied you? The story you just heard, it's only the end of chapter 1. The question is, what's in chapter 2? The fight, the flight, or the fascinating, chilling dance of two people who know each other's darkest secrets? Subscribe, because the experiment is far from over.